Welcome to the Sanjay Mortimer RepRap Festival 2026, coming to you from the Dalton Building in Manchester, England. The UK's biggest 3D printing festival. This is an excellent showcase of the technology, the fun, and the hobby of 3D printing. I want to show you folks around the show what interesting projects and products have caught my eye this year. Thank you so much to Siraya Tech for sponsoring my trip to SMRRF 2026. More on them later. And as always, thank you to studio sponsors Prusa Research and PCBWay for making all of my content possible. For right now, let's go take a look at the show and see what there is to see. Over here at the Duet 3D booth is one machine that's been really catching attention this weekend. It's got an interesting name at the moment, so if you can come up with a better name for this, do let us know in the comments. The dual Voron parallel printer setup. This is effectively a Voron Trident with a Voron 2.4 on top of it, as well as having index, as well as having a box turtle setup on it. This machine has so much going on inside of here, and it's really showing what Duet hardware and RepRap firmware can do. The machine is capable of printing with both gantries at the same time, with priming one while the other is printing for almost instantaneous switching between tool heads, so you're not waiting on slow refeeding of filament back with a box turtle setup, or even the heat up time of the index. So much to see here, and it's honestly probably fairly hard to wrap your head around on video, because it's honestly kind of hard for me to wrap my head around standing in front of it here. The machine is a passion project, and honestly, I think it is a really neat piece of engineering and a spirit of what 3D printing in the RepRap community is all about. One of the things I find really interesting is the index setup. He's only had this on here for about a week at this point, and the intention is to replace the SV08 toolhead that's on the 2.4 gantry with an index toolhead as well. That is why the index nozzles are on their own independent Z-axis here, so that the two tool heads will be able to feed from the same supply magazine of nozzles, so it can move up for the 2.4 tool head and down for the Trident. Another neat idea here, a possibility, and a lot of this comes down to just wrapping your head around your little details in a project like this, is the Trident could print all of its Z-axis, max all the way down, and then the 2.4 head could take over with this gantry up top and then continue upward, building parallel back. Again, a lot to think about when you're talking about a project like this. I'm just blown away by what has been put together here in a relatively short period of time. I've been kind of calling this in my own head the Turducken project, just so much crammed into one frame and one space of a machine, and just showing what hardware can do if you just let your mind run free. Over here in the E3D booth, we have a fun little farm printer design. E3D teamed up with a company called Batch.Works in London to work on these print farm machines, dedicated to producing smaller parts that don't quite meet the needs of injection molding, the expense requirements. You can produce them readily in 120mm build volume pump out parts. This design has a mostly printed frame using ABS-GF, reminiscent of the Voron Zero, I'd say, in design language, Core XY, the 120 build volume with a single Z-axis lead screw, dual auxiliary part cooling fans. It's a really interesting little design running Revo hot ends and Roto extruders. The entire structure is designed to be rigid, so it can have add-on little parts for ejecting the actual parts printed on the machines, and it's designed to fit within this server rack build volume. So you could have a row of racks set up with these and just have a print farm, have a commodity system for maintaining your machines within. You've got drawers you can add on to eject your parts into. Ground up designed to be a farm machine ready to run, ejecting parts, moving on to the next one, automated production, just keep on running these machines. Nothing about it stands out as like the most unique or interesting. We've seen these adaptations done to other machines, but this was designed from the get-go to be set up like this. And I just think it's a fun little design and interesting, a way you can go with small-scale manufacturing using additive manufacturing.
I swear to God. Oh my God.
As far as Siraya Tech is concerned, they've got a range of fun new materials available for your 3D printing pleasure. I'm going to throw it back to Alan in the studio so we can talk more about this and have a little fun with Nori while we check out these materials. Siraya has long been known for their high-quality resins for SLA 3D printing, such as this material I use, Sculpt. Really high temperature handling as well as being a rigid material. It prints beautifully as all of their resins do, which they've been applying that same concept to filament in recent years. With the rise of interest in 3D printing shoes, they've come out with a range of flexible materials to meet those demands. Varying hardnesses of TPU, PEBA, and most recently foaming TPU with their Roamer line, which can really allow for control over getting a really soft inner sole or outer sole for good grip. So I decided to test it by printing a ball. On the Prusa XL, I loaded up Roamer 85A, used that for the main ball, and PLA for the support material. Now, this is not something I would think Siraya would recommend long term, but it's a fun thing to toss around and have Nori chase. She is pretty ball obsessed, so I'm not gonna let her have this long term, but it is pretty fun to see that the Roamer material is somewhere between a TPU and a PEBA in its rebound, its bounce. It doesn't just absorb the impact, it also transmits it back into it. Really a useful material for shoes, balls, whatever you might be trying to print with your flexibles. That's not just fun stuff. Siraya also has serious materials. PPA-CF, PET-CF, PETG-CF, a range of fiber-filled materials, as well as core fiber fills, which is actually an inner core of your fiber reinforcement, a unique property out there on the market. From your serious applications, your engineering materials, to your fun applications like footwear, Siraya has you covered. Check out their products at the link in the description. With that, I do believe it's time to head back to Smurf. Over here we have the Muon3D M1, a portable evolution of the positron, a available product version that's got a lot of quality of life refinements on this machine. The base chassis is machined from a single block of billet aluminum. It looks and feels premium. The machine comes in a little carry case. It's easy to transport, take with you. The positron was known for being a printer in a filament box. This is meant to be your little more refined, travel, ready to run machine for your on-the-go needs. Open it up, pull out the machine, unfold it. You can set down in the bed, which will quick connect. And then there's a cable, a umbilical for the tool head. That umbilical has both the ducting for the CPAP part cooling, as well as a filament guide path, Teflon reverse Bowden tube to the direct drive extruder, and your tool head cable in there all in one neat package. I said yesterday when I looked at this thing, it looks like a Mac Mini, especially when you put it on the optional battery pack. That'll let you get up to 15 hours of PLA printing, 10 hours of PETG, or 5 hours of ABS printing. Obviously, higher temps on the bed, more power draw. That clear bed has a PEI coating on it, so you're not going to worry about your PETG ripping chunks out of the bed and can get up to 110 degrees Celsius. A really neat evolution here. This is RepRap at work, where we're seeing designs coming from open source and going into really refined products. Really interesting to see this. This is coming to Kickstarter soon, so if you're interested, check it out. Over here with the EMU MMU, the Expandable Multi-Material Unit. This is a modular system that's the rise of MMUs is definitely here. They've been around forever, but we're really seeing an explosion in both popularity and quality of design. And this is definitely leaning on that quality of design aspect. It's a modular system that allows for expandability from one lane on up. It uses CAN bus for daisy chaining together each individual lane, has a very simplistic, and I mean that in a very positive way, a simple system. It's using the filamentous design of these feeder rails here, has a extruder motor and extruder system here, and then the actual driving of the wheels is handled while the filament is feeding. The whole simple system is compact, easy to contain inside of one of these little dry box setups here, which are helping with humidity and environmental control for your different materials. Instead of having one big box that all of your filaments are in and having to expand by a certain number or another box, you can do individual lanes that expand one by one. That also helps with the environmental controls because the single lane can be a little more compact, a little smaller system, so everything fits in there. You have less air volume to be controlling. The goal for this was just to be a simple system with off-the-shelf hardware as much as possible and just make multi-material more approachable and capable in a fairly basic fashion, which honestly I really applaud seeing, and I really like the design language too. I think it looks like a really great system. I'm definitely interested in learning more about this in the future as the project grows. Over here at the Millennium Machine booth, you might know them from the Milo V1.5 that I built on my Mandic Labs channel some time ago, and I have in my studio, though I've yet to find it a home in the space. There's some updates here to the ecosystem that the Millennium Machine team is growing. They've got the V1.6 on display. That's going to be the upgrade path from the V1.5, bringing a lot of the V2 features down to an upgradable design for the previous revision. Kits for V2 are on the horizon, not out yet, but they are coming. But there's some interesting individual pieces on display here, such as our first look at the Spit Roast, a 4th axis add-on for their Millennium Machine machining systems. There's a pendant on display. It's a touchscreen interface for your machine with a jog wheel on there so you can move axes individually, manually, while still running the motors, not having to run hand wheels. Has an emergency shutoff, a safety button so it interlocks. You're not just accidentally jogging the axes on yourself. And just another way to control the machine without having to pull out a second web interface on a laptop or a tablet. You've got a dedicated system to go with your machine like a lot of high-end milling machines will have. And we're getting our first look at the ATC, Automatic Tool Changer System. This is a 4-position system here, early here, but that is something they're looking to add to this system, adding tool changing to the Millennium Machine Milos. And last but most certainly not least, we've got a preview of the Atlas, which is going to be their next, a much bigger enclosed machine with a larger build volume, larger everything for serious hardcore machining operations. That's a down the road project and we're seeing bits and pieces of it. It's a semi-modular design in that it breaks down into individual component segments for ease of transport. You can break it down into pieces, get it set up in a new space, or break it down when you're not using it for an extended period of time. Again, that's future, and we're just getting a preview of it here. A lot of really interesting stuff coming from the Millennium Machine team. I know folks have said that the popularity kind of peaked and then dropped off for these machines. I definitely fed into that by starting the build of mine and then never fully finishing it. I really need to get around to that in the not too distant future in Mandic Labs. I do believe that's what we're going to call it for the Sanjay Mortimer RepRap Festival 2026. The show is over, folks are wrapping up. I had a heck of a time. I hope you enjoyed coming along for the ride. I got to feature more community projects than I typically do in videos like this, and I'm really happy about that. This event I personally just really enjoy, so I'm glad to see it's growing, it's getting bigger. They had over 1,000 people through the door on Saturday, and it's got a lot of fun stuff. Not just products from brands, but fun community projects, the spirit of RepRap. Thank you so much to Siraya Tech for sponsoring my trip to the show this year. Please do check out the links in the description to their materials, what they can do for your 3D printing experience. Hope you found this video interesting. If you did, I'd love to hear what you found the most interesting, or if you saw something somebody else covered that I might have missed, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Get subscribed to ensure your 3D prints don't fail. It's not a guarantee, but it can't hurt. See you folks in the next one.